started this tank in January, just over 8 months ago. You know, back when life was normal. But even then, life was not certainly free of uncertainty. Take, for instance, starting the tank. Neither of us had ever taken care of a saltwater tank before, let alone set one up. So we spent most of 2019 researching and reading articles, watching videos. Here's what we discovered. You should use 2 pumps, or a pump and a circulation fan, but never a single pump alone. Well, unless you're starting with live rock. You can use wet live rock or dry live rock, but wet live rock has a good potential of having algae that's bad and could destroy your tank. You could use dry live rock, but if you do, you have to start with a bacteria primer. Unless you use bottled seawater, but that's expensive. You can buy salt water from the aquatic store or save money by making your own by purchasing RO water from them at the aquatic store and just adding your own sea salt. Or you can just use tap water if you want, but you have to treat it with chemicals first. Whatever you do, make sure that salinity is around 1.022 or 1.023, but no higher, or maybe it's 1.025. The more advice we received, the more confusing it became. So we visited the local aquatic store, shout out to Fishmania, and explained what our experience of self-help was. Ethan chuckled at our story as he leaned on the counter. He tossed his head in the direction of the employees, helping other customers or caring for the fish, and said, "Ask each one of them and you'll get a different answer too. You're going to get as many different answers as the number of people you ask." He then leaned in and lowered his voice. "Here's the key," he said. At this point, I was sure he was going to give me some secret sage advice. I wondered if I should get a piece of paper so I could write it all down. I was confident that he was going to give me that step-by-step directions of the actual correct way. In a low voice, leaned in, Ethan said, "There's no wrong way of doing it, as long as you're tending to the tank." And that was all that I needed, all the grace that we both needed to jump into the project. And I'm so glad we did. The tank has given me many hours of pleasure. It's a place I can lose myself and relax during very difficult times. Pandemic, racism, homophobia, protests, lost jobs, rent due, car trouble, sick family, kitchen fire, learning new technology, trying to teach our children from home. It has become a roller coaster of emotions. Anger, depression, anxiety, fear, sadness. Sometimes we're not even sure exactly what we feel. That is when I get lost into my underwater world. I like to stare into the tank and the world around me just disappears and my mind wanders, most often to theology in my time in seminary. Lessons I learned from professors and classmates, books I've read, scripture I read, and my rotation as chaplain with hospice. My time walking the sacred halls of hospice taught me to recognize grief. And lost into the tank, it hit me. I was grieving. All those emotions I was feeling was grief. I was mourning the loss of security, a job, relationships. Now, hospice taught me that grief comes in surprising ways, sometimes with silent tears and other times with primordial screams. It often looks like anger and sometimes it appears as relief. Some people make jokes and laugh while others just fold into themselves. As I slowly left that underwater world back into my own reality, I remembered why I had come to the tank to begin with. It was time to check the chemicals. I needed to tend the tank. Ethan's words came to me in that still small voice in my head. There's no wrong way to do it, as long as you're tending the tank. Now, life has bombarded us with lots of loss this year, and all those emotions that we're feeling right now is grief. Let us give ourselves the grace of knowing that there's no wrong way of doing it, as long as we're tending to our grief tank. Join me in my next video as we explore ways we can tend our grief tank. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss this or any other video. And until next time, stay salty.